I welcome all other guests. I have in my friend Professor Neelam Jilani, Professor Zinat, and Nasir Mirza. Hinduism, Buddhism, and Islam. And people of this land at different periods of its history profess different faiths, but by and large, monotheism has been the cardinal principle of majority of faiths. Friends, in the fabulous history of Kashmir, there are many important milestones. Of these, the 14th century is the most significant, a momentous and a historic benchmark and a great watershed. It is a century of transitions. It is a century of confluences. In this century, stream of diverse cultures and social outlooks from various directions converged into Kashmir to spawn a new culture that gives it a distinctive place not only in the subcontinent but in the community of nations. Sweeping winds of change, brimful with the fragrance of the teachings of Islam from this land, but also proved catalytic in changing its economic scenario. Islam, last with Central Asian Sufi traditions, mingled with the spiritual past of Kashmir and synthesized a new culture cascading with humanism, tolerance and justice. And it was this culture that over a period of time seeped into the social milieu of this land and created a distinctive Kashmir personality. Our history is misty and foggy. Many and important dates and events are lost in its haze. When did Islam arrive in Kashmir cannot be said with absolute certainty. It needs to be researched further, but there can be no denying that the influences of Islam started knocking at the doors of the valley with the arrival of this great religion in Sindh, northwest frontier areas and Punjab of Indian subcontinent. On the throne. The scenario underwent a drastic change with the arrival of Hazrat Mir Sayyid Ali Hamdani, protagonist of Islamic movement in this region. His arrival did not only prove as a catalyst for the change, but it metamorphosed the Kashmir society. Islamic teachings, blended with Sufi traditions, provided a new warp and groove to the social political fabric of Kashmir society and in culture, but guided the course of its development in such a manner that eventually it emerged out of narrow waters of Bahamanism into the broad sea of Islamic humanism. Islam became faith of majority of people in Kashmir in this century. Friends, no swords were taken out of the scabbard, no arrows were propelled from bows, and no cannon. There were no clashes of civilization. There was no clash of civilization. There were no criminal collusion. There were no sectarian conflicts. There were no class wars. It was not a particular class of people. It was not a particular class of people or a section of society that was influenced by the new. It's not something parochial. It has nothing to do with nationality or subnationality. It is not in fact an attitude. It's in fact an attitude towards life. To me, it's a superculture born out of advent of Islam in this traditionally land of monotheism. This culture is manifested in every aspect of its life. It is distinctly visible in day-to-day life of the people. Its wide-ranging term, which would be difficult to define in its subtleties, but in broader terms it can be defined as universalism, humanism and brotherhood. The teachings of this great religion did not, while this superculture was emerging as an article of faith with the people under the leadership of Amir Kabir and ascetic, Laldet was emerging as an icon of spiritualism. In the words of a church called a temple, though much legend has clustered around the name of Lalla, little is really known about her. All that can be affirmed of her is that she certainly existed and that she lived in the 14th century of the Christian era. Being a contemporary of Sayyid Ali Hamdani at the time of his visit to Kashmir in 1379 AD, to 1385-86 AD. Some historians are of the view that this great saint was illiterate. Whether she was illiterate or like other Brahmin girls, she was educated by her parents, could read and write and teach Sanskrit is a matter of research. But when seen in an overall perspective, she was unconventional, and by exchanging views and holding discourses on philosophical topics, principles of theology, fundamentals of ethics, with learned men of her time, she had fully grasped the essentials of religions professed by her forefathers and the culture of her homeland. She had great desire to understand the truth, and it was this passion that made her to have an interaction with eminent scholars, thinkers, and philosophers of her time. Her having discourses and sharing spiritual experience with Mir Sayyidi Hamdani are a part of our folk tale and folk literature. Even historians have testified for having had meetings with this great saint. About her meeting with Islamic scholar of her time, Premnath Bazaz, one of our eminent historians, writes, as one whose consuming passion was ceaseless search of the truth, Zaza could not remain indifferent to it. When Sayyid refugees poured into Kashmir from Hamadan and other towns of Iran, she lost no time or opportunity to meet them and hear the expositions of the principles and tenets of Islam from the best informed and most learned among them. She had long interviews and frequent arguments with Sayyid Jalaluddin Bukhari, Sayyid Samnaini, and most illustrious of the order, Sayyid Ali Hamdani, known in Kashmir by the people and adored reputation of Shahid. Our message was for the common people. That's Lavdab's message was for the common people.